Hello everybody and welcome to the Stevie P channel for today's look at the Lions Rugby 22 ratings. So earlier this week we started a series where we're going to be looking at all the player ratings as well as the team ratings for the Rugby 22 South African URC teams. And on earlier this week we looked at the Bulls. I had quite a lot of issues with the rating systems because it wasn't immediately obvious how the ratings were actually done. Is it purely stats based in terms of the first couple of rounds of the URC? Are we looking at the last 2 years? Is it a subjective thing? Are we just sitting down and going, I think that player is a 74. I think that player is a 76. Are there stats coming into it? Are there, past teams coming into it? Are there, what sort of is the highest level that these guys have played? Because on Tuesday, we had somebody like an Ambrose Pierre who's played Springbok rugby, hasn't played recently because of a couple of injuries, but is a very good player, being ranked lower than, Keegan Johannes, who's only just broken through at the Bulls and played about 4 senior rugby games in his life, which doesn't make sense to me. So I wasn't particularly happy with the rating system that we saw with the Bulls on earlier this week. And I think that my biggest thing is when it comes to player ratings, first of all, you'll never agree on everything. That's just the norm. You're not always going to agree on something. But you need to see a bit of consistency. You need to be able to work out how these ratings have come about. And look, you can in terms of you look at their individual stats and the various things that they're good at, and then it all combines to make a rating. But surely you also watch games. Surely you also watch games and you can see that's a good player. That's an average player. That's not a particularly good player. Surely you can sort of start to sort of come to some sort of, aggregate where you can kind of get a bit more accurate. But we're going to see what the Lions ratings look like, which is my team. So it's very much going to be quite sort of close to the heart here. First of all, if you look over here, they are rated 71. So they're ranked 71, so they're pretty low ranked. They're higher than the Stormers, who are the lowest ranked side in the URC, and the same ranking as the Sharks. The Bulls are a little bit higher. So immediately, Ruan Drea is very experienced, has played Springboks. Carly Sardi is pretty young, but probably will play Springboks. I think he's good enough, and I think he's probably within the top 3 best Lions players. The fact that they're immediately ranked lower than Nakawasaki, for me, is a bit of a problem. And then you look at Ruben Skuman. Now, Ruben Skuman is currently ranked the highest member of this squad. Of this Lions pack. Now, how does that happen ahead of a Yako Creel who's played Springbok rugby and has played at Gloucester and has been at one stage was probably the best flanker in Super Rugby at one stage. I think or one of the best. Definitely. Vincent Suka, for me, is a future Bok. He's been probably the best Lions player for a while now. How did those two both get a lower rating than a Ruben Skuman? And you go look at someone like some of the sort of the other stat stuff like that. Now, if you have a look at speed, Yako Creel was always known as being an incredibly quick loose forward. So the fact that he's basically the same as a Vincent Tuka, Frankie Horn, I think is a bit harsh, because I think that he's very quick compared to what you'd expect. And then you look at some of these stats and you think that they have to be sort of stat based. Carry meters, pass complete. These must all be sort of based on stats and stuff like that. So at least, for example, there you're seeing that Jack Creel is very good over the ball. Pick up and go. You're seeing that something like Frankie Horn who plays in that role. Jack Creel is also quite good at pick up and go. So there are certain things which you imagine do sort of come out of just sort of the raw stats. So, for example, like there, you see Vincent Tuka is a very good line operator, and he is ranked that. But I think that the sort of the final score sometimes can be a bit strange. Andrew Warner, funny enough, it's a bit weird that he's actually ranked so low, and I say that as someone who has never particularly rated Andrew Warner as incredible, but I think he scored about 5 or 6 tries this season. So you got to think it's a bit harsh that attacking he's sitting there in 67 for somebody who's scored. I think at the moment right now he scored 3 tries. In 3 games, in the last sort of 3 URC games. Fly off Jordan Hendricks, he's very young, but he's very highly rated. So, sitting there at 70 years old, 20 years old. I'm good to see that they recognize his defensibility, which is interesting. But you look at Rasmus Kleiner, and you can see that this is the form that he showed at the beginning of the season. The fact that he's more highly rated than Burger Woodendaal. But first of all, Jumbo Lengo doesn't even play. So to have him, ranked higher than a Burger Woodendaal is very harsh. I think Wanasila Similani is a better player than, maybe not in form right now, but is definitely a better prospect. And if we're looking at stats, attack is good, speed is good. Tackling is, for example, I think his attacking ability, we all know this, is much better than his defensive ability. So the fact that his tackling is higher then his attack is strange. And I get, maybe there's certain things that are stat based, but I don't understand how that comes into it. Even for is not faster than Similani and Berger Odendaal and Ras Bakwana. I mean, they've literally got Ras Bakwana as being slower than Evil for Ewan. Ras Bakwana could very well be one of the fastest players in the URC. Berger Odendaal is big. I mean, Evil for Ewan's biggest thing at the moment is the fact he's not fast enough to be at full back. So how do you come to that kind of conclusion? I mean, North Narkle's no longer in the squad. He wasn't actually when... North Narkle is around there, but he's currently injured. Morgan Nordia, 72. I mean, North Narkle at 74, I think it's a bit high. Steve Storley is underrated at 70. Siwasiu Sangweni, I don't understand how he gets away with 70. He doesn't play that much. Same as Manu Russ. I mean, just to say that Manu Russ is better than Similani is a bit strange for me. PJ Buerta, what's his line-out work? Does it have line? 66. Yeah, that needs to be lower. He's horrendous. Morning van den Berg at 68. Eddie Fischer at 66. And then you got Jean-Pierre Smith. I mean, he doesn't even play. Ross Cornier is actually retired now. But I mean, these are players who barely play. Asanate and Clavicania, young prop, is ranked better than Carly Sari. Explain to me how that happens. Ruan Strali is ranked better than Vincent Stuka and Jaco Creel. Explain to me how that happens. Matt Moore hasn't played a minute for the Lions yet in the URC and he's sitting at 70, higher ranked than Similani. How does that happen? You can kind of understand where the issues come in, don't you? So again, it's another team where I just don't understand if any of these guys have actually watched these teams, and I wish that they would sort of consult with people who do watch rugby. And I wish they'd sort of even go into some more fan stuff like that and trying to get an actual understanding of where some of these players line up. Because the fact that you're sitting there, as I said, rating Asanate and Clavicania, a young prop who is sort of coming through and making his way, and he's ranked higher than Carly Sari, who for me could be playing for the Springboks in June, July. And any Lions fan will tell you that is just plain wrong. They watch the rugby all the time, and it's wrong. So, it's another team, and we're probably going to have the same issue with the other types. But what do you guys think? Do you think that there's a fundamental flaw in Rugby 22's ratings? And if so, what is that flaw? Where are they getting these ratings from? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below what you think. And I'll see you guys all next time.